You're 24 years old and 3 weeks out of the farm when your handler sits across from you in a coffee shop in Northern Virginia and slides a photograph across the table. Not a briefing document, not a file, just a photograph. Face down, the way you slide something across a table when the thing on the other side of it requires a decision before it requires an explanation. You turn it over. You look at it for 4 seconds. You slide it back. Your handler picks it up, puts it in his jacket pocket, and says one sentence. The man in that photograph will be responsible for the deaths of between 40 and 60 American assets currently operating in 3 countries if he completes what he started last Tuesday. You drink your coffee. You ask one question. You ask when. He says Thursday. You say nothing else. You leave the coffee shop. And you don't sleep that night, not because you're afraid, but because you're running the calculation that will define everything that comes after it. And the calculation takes all night, and when the sun comes up, the answer is the same as it was at midnight. You're going to do this, not because you were ordered to, because 40 people are alive on a Tuesday and may not be alive on a Friday, and you're the variable that changes that outcome. And you've always known, since the first week of training, that this was the variable you were being built to be. Thursday happens. You don't talk about Thursday. Not then, not ever. What you carry from Thursday is not guilt in the way people describe guilt from the outside. It's something quieter and more permanent, a specific weight that doesn't increase nor decrease, and that you learn over the following months to carry without adjusting your posture. You're 26 when they give you a designation, not a name, a designation, a string of letters and numbers that appears in documents that themselves appear in no filing system anyone outside a specific room in Langley can access. Your handler explains what the designation means in practical terms. It means you exist inside the organization the way a surgical instrument exists inside a hospital. Necessary, precise, and never discussed outside the room where it's used. You understand this completely. You also understand something your handler doesn't say, which is that surgical instruments are sterilized between uses and replaced when they become unreliable. You file this understanding away in the same place you filed the calculation from Thursday night. You'll need it later. The next 4 years are a series of problems and solutions. You don't think of them as missions in the way the word appears in the films. Your colleagues reference occasionally with a kind of ironic distance that tells you they watch them too. They're problems. Each one has a specific set of constraints, a specific set of variables, and a specific acceptable outcome. Your job is to reach the acceptable outcome while keeping the constraints intact. The constraints are always the same. No attribution, no evidence, no pattern that connects one problem to the next. You're good at this. You are, by the end of year 4, operating with a level of autonomous judgment that your handler describes in one quarterly review as unprecedented, and in the next as concerning. You understand the difference between those 2 words and what the shift means. You file it. The operation that changes your relationship to the organization isn't the most dangerous one you have run. It's the most revealing. You're in a city you'll not name, running a problem that has been authorized at a level 3 tiers above your handler, and you discover on the ground, 48 hours before execution, that the intelligence that authorized the problem is wrong. Not outdated, not incomplete. Wrong in a specific, deliberate way that can only be explained by one of 2 possibilities. Either someone in the authorization chain made an error serious enough to constitute negligence, or someone in the authorization chain wanted this problem solved badly enough to manufacture the justification for it. You sit with this for 6 hours. Then you make the only decision that the person you have spent 4 years becoming is capable of making. You abort. You extract. You file a report that states in precise and unambiguous language exactly what you found and exactly what it implies. You don't hear back for 11 days. When you do hear back, it isn't from your handler. It's from someone you have never met, whose name you don't get, who tells you in a tone of absolute administrative calm that your concerns have been reviewed and found to be the result of incomplete contextual understanding, that the operation has been reassigned, and that you're being placed on an indefinite administrative hold pending a comprehensive review of your operational judgment. You listen to the entirety of this without speaking. When the call ends, you sit for a long time with the specific knowledge of what an indefinite administrative hold means for someone with your designation, which is that the organization has quietly converted you from a surgical instrument into a liability, and that liabilities in this organization don't go on indefinite administrative hold. They go on a different kind of list entirely. You've been preparing for this moment for 2 years, not consciously at first, and then in the last 8 months, very consciously indeed. You know 4 things that you shouldn't know. You have documentation of 3 operations that were never supposed to be documented. You have 2 exit routes that were never registered with anyone. And you have 1 contact entirely outside the organization who's been holding a specific package for you for 14 months, with instructions to open it if you don't check in by a date that is now 6 days away. You're alive because the organization doesn't yet know that you prepared. You'll remain alive as long as that remains true. You pick up a phone that's never been registered to any name, and you begin.